Since there are clearly overhead lights in this police station, I can only assume the major turns them off for dramatic effect when interviewing potentially dirty cops.
How'd it go in there with the feds?
Vague question about the feds to overtly pique curiosity, as if I wasn't already curious about the movie I decided to watch.
And they found your alibi suitable.
Vague question about this guy's alibi to overtly question his integrity, as if I wasn't already skeptical of Mr. Ripley.
There are eyes everywhere.
This is somehow not about flock cameras.
You just need to know that I'm the only cop you can trust.
Cliche. Also, this whole movie is about how there are at least 4 other cops that she can trust.
How do I know they're not tracing this call? This is a burner phone. You're safe.
Although it's true that burner phones offer some level of anonymity, they absolutely can be traced, especially by people with a lot of resources at their disposal, like dirty cops and drug cartels. Having the element of surprise and deciding to shoot your shotgun from this far away. This texting in the rain works without a single spelling error or any bizarre autocorrect substitutions. Also, texting at a time like this. Not that most people wouldn't do this nowadays, but that doesn't make it any less dumb. The PT Cruiser. Captain Velez gets thrown back by the shotgun blast as if she were just blindsided by Jordan Brooks, and Newton's third law of motion has thrown the yellow flag, citing bullshit physics. Firing your gun in the air and not going on. Won't be needing this anymore. Unassuring commercial.
The feds, they want TNT dismantled.
Being a dick to the new classics. Wait, what do you mean that programming block was discontinued 26 years ago, and I didn't notice because I stopped paying for cable? F you, TNT. F me as well, I guess.
Take a seat, please. Detective Rowe.
Oh man, they dragged poor Scott Atkins into this mess.
We have a few more questions, if you don't mind.
This movie has decided to open with interrogations for all the some time.
Detective Salazar, we're interviewing your entire TNT team.
No, it's just TNT. Tactical Narcotics Team is not Tactical Narcotics Team.
Detective Salazar would be excellent at It's Not an Automatic Teller Machine Sins.
You describe the job as follows. TNT works the dope game. We jump the holes, seizures, drugs, guns, mostly cash. Is that accurate?
Well, they're not as accurate. It's easily the least descriptive job description ever.
You heard about the inside heist teams.
Innuendo to that end, yeah. Cops playing robbers, yeah.
And now so is the audience. Exposition well done. Let's take a moment to pat ourselves on the back.
It's a great deal. A large coffee and a donut for $1.
Such fucking Hail Mary bullshit. You guys trying to put this together with popsicle sticks and glue.
JD has very bizarre ideas about what football is.
You know, the guy that just took your promotion.
Who deserved that bump as much as anybody in this department. You aware of what that guy's been through? His marriage, his kid.
Implying that it's somehow okay to promote a cop based on personal trauma instead of experience and job skills.
You're a fucking genius brain trust to help bust up VCAT.
VCAT? I'm not familiar.
Violent Criminal Apprehension Team.
Exposing media or acronym expositing. Or just acronyms.
The reason they were shut down was because of widespread and rampant criminal corruption.
Not a lot of straight A students, but superb fucking murder police.
Is he saying that criminality has a direct correlation to test scores, but test scores mean nothing when it comes to homicide investigation and forensic science? That logic seems tenuous, but I trust JD because he's got moxie.
Because now, all the VCAT guys, not just the bet ones, are buried fucking alive.
Superb fucking hyperbole police.
So why don't you tell us about that double shoulder rig you're wearing there? One of those guns is yours, right? Who's the other belong to?
JD somehow got permission to carry a gun that was fired by an officer right before she was murdered, while the investigation of her murder is still ongoing.
What's wrong with you? Hey!
Movie sets up all this toximachismo, so we'll believe the only 2 options are fighting or fucking.
He's fighting with his brother.
I stand by my point.
What the f*** is he doing?
According to 18 U.S.C. Section 111, what he's doing is assaulting a federal officer. But also, Dell investigating the murder of his brother's situationship is a huge conflict of interest that the movie will pretend is not there. The lingering effects of all that Batfleck training are this not dad bod that he just has to show off to make me feel bad about myself.
The guy just got his knocked in by the grind, man.
Not wearing a cup when in proximity to this grind he speaks of.
Some cop shit, basic shit.
Shooting the shit in the crepper.
I've been waking up every night, like, thinking about time.
Matt Damon's therapy sessions post-Interstellar somehow make it into the script. Scenes that make me feel like Dom Toretto is going to sneak up behind me and whisper, "Family."
Keep the donuts going, boys! Yeah.
If I wanted to see more shitty donuts, I'd go to Dunkin'.
What is going on with this cash? Everything is just money. You know, we dope cops, so I'm trying to make this make sense.
This would be a valid line of inquiry if we didn't already know what your job description was.
TNT works the dope game. We jump the holes, seizures, drugs, guns, mostly cash.
So all this really is a clumsy segue into some much-needed exposition that will finally explain what this movie is about.
You think it's those stash house hits we've been hearing about?
What the hell are those?
Oh, some bullshit. It's cartel houses supposedly getting knocked over by cops and feds.
This forced hanging out, drinking beers position. Also, narcotics detectives who have less of an idea about stash houses than someone who's watched maybe 5 episodes of Miami Vice.
You run into a big fucking stash house, you let me know, okay?
Conveniently timed reveal of a message about a big fucking stash house is convenient. The date of the text message is September 4th, which is the night Velez was shot. And the current date is October 11th. But earlier, Dell's notebook showed that he interviewed Lolo on November 12th and that she had last seen Velez on November 10th. It's possible that November makes sense if Velez was killed a year ago, but that would negate the possibility that Velez sent the text message on September 4th. The timeline of this movie doesn't timeline correctly. Scenes that make me really Arctic cooler.
Captain America, you get the Red Skull yet?
Mistaking Bruce Wayne for Steve Rogers.
Maybe this is the motherfucker knocking over the stash houses with the cabal of Miami's finest and feds put together.
The movie literally points at the villain while telling us he's the villain, so it can giggle to itself for the entire movie, knowing most of the audience hasn't noticed and won't remember what it's done. Well, CinemaSins remembers.
Now it's money up in a house in Hialeah. I want to rip it. I don't want to end the week on a goose egg.
Overtime?
No, no, this is extra credit.
Shaming potentially dirty cops into working off the clock after they have already been sitting around drinking for a while. What could possibly go wrong? Also, putting points on an arbitrary scoreboard is a terrible reason to work unpaid overtime, but they all do it anyway.
I'm going regardless, so you all do what you want, but I do need Wilbur. We need a money dog. Take your own cars, follow me out.
Leaving a dog in an unattended car in Miami is a criminal offense. And since Wilbur is a police dog and therefore a sworn law enforcement officer, it's also considered assaulting an officer. I don't know about these other guys yet, but Lolo is definitely a dirty cop. Driving nut to butt, so if Dane stops suddenly, you can all be in a comedic traffic pileup.
Houses will look abandoned.
Actually, they don't look abandoned at all, which is why it's so weird that there are no people around.
Man, we out here looking like a goddamn Halloween costume for cops. What the hell going on? Ain't supposed to be a madhouse?
Numa would be excellent at pointing out the things that feel like trap sins, but they would all be terrible at avoiding the thing that looks like a trap sins.
How much are they holding?
75 grand.
It's impossible. He's peeing all over the house. There has to be a lot more money inside.
And now I'm regretting that I spent months house training my new puppy instead of digging up all the money that he was trying to tell me was hidden in my living room, and my kitchen, and my dining room, and my bed.
Called a Crime Stopper tip. Said maybe there's some narcotics on the premises.
They're typically pretty reliable, so we just gotta follow up with them.
They're actually not, although they're occasionally useful. Only a little over 3% of Crime Stopper tips in Miami resulted in arrests in between 2015 and 2025.
Electrical wire shouldn't be sticking out like that.
It's even more true that the ripcord that opens up a viewing window to your hidden money stash behind the wall shouldn't be sticking out where any cop might pull on it.
Rest of the house clear.
You've been here all this time in an area of the house where there's only one means of escape, and you're just now clearing the rest of the house? I don't know if these cops are dirty, but they're definitely not great at their jobs.
But they do have great coke. In fact, all the coke in the United States.
And they have great food, too.
I'm sure they do.
They do.
But they don't hide it in the wall.
He's already forgotten that there's money in the wall, not drugs. Keep up, JD.
The receipt of stolen property, knowingly or unknowingly, including cash, does actually constitute doing something very seriously wrong.
While it's true that Desi can be investigated and charged with possession of stolen property, a prosecutor has to prove that Desi knew the money was there, that she knew it was stolen, and that she intended to possess the money before it constitutes doing something very seriously wrong.
How about the other one? WAAWB.
We are and always will be.
This tattoo is a dick to one of those A words. I assume it was and, but I don't want to be accused of being linguist.
Fucking rip, Numa.
Roll f***ing credits.
You're not a dirty cop, are you?
No, he's the bestest cop. Who's a good cop? Who's a good cop? You're a good cop.
All right, it's not a fucking purity test.
This is exactly what it's like trying to explain the nuance of CinemaSins.
If we discount it by $1, IA is fucking up our ass.
Being in a butt is somehow problematic, cliche. Also, the flaw in this logic is that Internal Affairs has no idea how much actual cash there was. The only way the team would get in trouble is if they counted the money and then stole money so that the count was off. And if you're that dumb about stealing money from a crime scene, you deserve to get caught.
Just a quick call.
I cannot give you a phone. I am sorry.
It's a quick phone call.
Script acts like Lolo wouldn't understand the severity of the situation just because it needs to sow some doubt about who is and who isn't corrupt.
You're both making a big mistake. You should just take whatever money you want and walk away. Before this goes really bad for all of us.
This ominous warning from Desi should warrant another more intense round of questioning, but no one bothers because that would give away the plot an hour and a half too soon.
There's a black and white coming up the street.
That's racist. Also, Dane and JD should know right now that Mike isn't on the up and up. You can't see a thing out the windows in the attic because they're all made of frosted glass. So the only way Mike could know there was a police car approaching would be if he called them. Protecting and serving. Very slowly.
This many challengers at the end of a block. It's either bangers or UCs.
By this many, he means 2. And by challengers, he means chargers. And by bangers, he somehow does not mean sausages. being this close to holding bro's hand and just not going for it.
You think they're on this place?
If these assholes knew what was in there, we'd be smoked already.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get hit.
Yeah.
This turns out to be true, but why the warning? If they had just hit the house instead of telegraphing the hit and giving Dane's team time to prepare for it, this movie would be about an hour and 20 minutes shorter.
All right, let's get the rifles vest up. Get a vest on the dog.
More screen time is not dedicated to outfitting Wilbur with his cute little bulletproof vest.
What is this?
I mean, Granny got the yellow pages. At this point, if y'all want to call 1987, I'm your girl. I got you.
Chekhov's Yellow Pages.
Mi tío had an old station wagon just like this.
Chekhov's old station wagon. Also, cops who still have $20 million in cash to count by hand have time for this.
But what the f are we doing?
We count the seizures on site.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we count the seizure on site, Numa. I'm talking about not contacting command.
What you tripping for? We literally do this all the time.
Except that just about everyone here has, at one time or another, pointed out that this rip is not being handled by the book. So clearly they do not do this like this all the time.
Look, that's a shitty fiberglass door. Let's move this car over there for more cover. Yeah?
It's kind of weird that Roe does this, since it will prevent his crooked cop buddies from winning. But maybe he knows that they're going to come in guns blazing and not concerned for his well-being, so he wants the cover there to save his own ass. Then again, if you know the people you're in cahoots with have no issue murdering you, why would you even tell them about the rip? So now I'm back at square one, confused about why Roe does anything that he does in this entire movie.
Policía de Jaile los asustó.
Movie throws so much shade at Hialeah cops that I'm wondering if anyone has checked on the actual Hialeah PD to see if they're okay. Or corrupt.
All right, here's what we're gonna do. If it's labeled 250, we leave it. Just take their word for it, all right?
Trusting in the scrupulous honesty of drug dealers.
I mean, it'd be so much easier if we just stole this money.
It would also be more entertaining. We find out later that Mike is one of the dirty cops, and the people he's contacting are the other dirty cops he's working with. So his cohorts are probably confused as hell that he'd text might be dirty, which is clearly there just to throw the audience off his scent.
Desiree Lopez Molina. You got a snitch jacket.
They have been here at least a couple of hours, and Dane is just now getting around to checking the record of the suspect they've been leaving alone and unsupervised for long stretches of time.
Desi, a CI on a seizure in the state of Florida can claim up to 20%.
Is that what's happening? Is a girl can get rich snitching in South Florida?
He's asking this like it's a bad thing. Why wouldn't she snitch if there's a $4 million payday in it for her? And why would he care? Desi didn't make the rules.
Hello?
You have 30 minutes to get the f out of that house.
I would have removed all the sins if this ended up being a backdoor sequel to the 10 other Saw movies, but then I would also have put them all back in for essentially the same reason. Also, if getting the money is the bad guy's end goal, then why the warning? If they just stopped with the theatrics and stormed the house, this movie would be about an hour and 15 minutes shorter.
When I asked you upstairs, how much was the Crime Stopper tip for? You said about $300,000.
That's right.
No, wrong.
It seems there was a very fine line between palpable on-screen chemistry and old married couple.
I want to see the piece of paper. I want to see the tip.
Just the tip?
Motherfucker. Call the major, or I will.
Not sticking around to see if Dane actually calls the major after just having a blowout argument about how you don't trust him. Excitement? Also, if they're expected to count the money on the scene at every rip, why aren't money counting machines standard equipment for TNT?
I take home $80K a year after taxes. And for that, I get shot at, spit on, punched, kicked, insulted, and made to feel like a f***ing piece of shit.
Aside from, perhaps, the getting shot part, there are people willing to pay for that kind of action, and their mistresses have entered the chat on their behalf.
What would you do with this, Numa?
Numa misses out on the golden opportunity to respond with, I would count it, so we can get the f*** out of here.
Stuck in the shit house.
A rip.
More money you can count.
An assertion that Lolo and Numa will prove wrong by performing an absolutely perfect count in spite of talking incessantly and eventually being shot at.
More money you can count.
Insulting someone with dyscalculia.
JD, you were in love.
Skip.
He's in medical debt, son is gone, but we all know that he's never going to truly recover, which means that he's a man that we can never truly trust.
Oh yeah, you definitely can't trust someone who's mourning the death of their child. Wait, what?
They all came on at once. It's like, I don't know, like a timer or something.
On both sides of the street?
Yeah.
Except that they didn't. They came on one at a time, down one side of the street, and then up the other, which is way weirder.
It is a pattern. It's Morse code. P-I-G-S.
They know we're here.
TNT has been blocking the driveways and walking around in flak jackets labeled police for hours. Of course they know you're here. There's so much tension in this scene, and then they level it up even more with just the subtle sound of Dane disengaging the safety on his gun. Guess I have to disengage a Sin. Stopping to check texts at a time like this. Not that most people wouldn't do this nowadays, but that doesn't make it any less dumb. Movie edges me with the shadow of its gun, and then cuts away to keep its secrets and leave me unsatisfied.
Please get me out of here.
Thanks to Netflix, only a handful of people will ever have the chance to say this in the theater while watching one of their movies.
Why do you have zip ties on the door?
We don't want people coming in or out.
But if you're going to just get up and let people in anyway, what's the point? Somehow all the money they were counting will survive this bullet rave. Why is Roe shooting at his guys? And why are his guys pointing flashlights like they want to be shot?
¿Cómo está el perro? I don't know, no sé dónde está, pero lo escucho. Wilbur!
The movie threatens me by suggesting that the story might harm this cute little puppy.
Cover!
A layer of stucco and some drywall provides solid cover from a hail of bullets cliche.
Hey, down! Down! Get the f down! Get down! Get down!
Shouting that you're a friend while holding a gun and approaching two cops fresh out of a shootout. In other words, the cartel guy survives this.
What does he mean it's not us? It's the guy from the porch light. He's cartel.
Movie seriously skipped over the part where JD struck up a friendship with a cartel member while they were both stalking around with tactical gear and automatic weapons.
Ninguno de nuestros afiliados tuvimos nada que ver con quien los atacó violentamente esta noche. Tampoco nos interesa el dinero.
And because cartel bosses are widely known for their honesty and forthrightness, JD and Dane accept this and move on with their evening.
Dices que el cartel no tuvo nada que ver con el asesinato de Capitán Velez.
One of the questions we've been waiting for the answer to finally gets asked and answered, but the movie purposely withholds that information as if movies having the right to remain silent meant that I can't or wouldn't be using that against them.
Fucking walking away from $20 million?
Killing a cop is expensive. Killing 5 of us bankrupts even the best dope game.
Math. Also, I'm going to need you to show your work, because the suggestion here is that authorities only get serious about crimes related to illegal drugs when their lives are on the line. And our characters just saunter off into the night, as if no fucks can be given about such an indictment.
Guys, the cartel didn't hit us. It wasn't them. And they're doing a quit claim. They're walking away.
There's no way Numa and Lolo are getting an accurate count of that money. Hell, I've lost count of how many times they've been interrupted mid-count. And that number is way smaller than 20 million.
Yeah, I told them about the rip, told them we were going to finish the count, walk it out ourselves.
With what? Our cars are fucking trashed.
JD would be excellent at the impracticality of walking halfway across Miami carrying $20 million in cash since.
What did Mr. Cartel say on the phone about Jackie? Our people think she was killed by a member of her own team.
Why would any cop take the leader of a drug cartel at his word? Sowing dissent in the team who are about to walk away with $20 million of his money seems like exactly the kind of thing a cartel boss would do.
You have to help. You're the only good one.
If the movie says it, it must be true.
We're inbound now. Who you got full kick, whole team?
No, had to cut my starters. Just can't afford the fucking overtime.
JD should instantly be calling bullshit on the whole overtime thing. The minute it was reported that 5 cops had just survived a massive shootout and were now sitting on $20 million in drug money, I think the DEA might find a little money in the budget to pay for overtime.
All right, we'll come back for the rest.
Considering how fast this fire is spreading, he shouldn't expect there to be any rest to come back for. Sure, I was getting tired of hanging out in that cul-de-sac, but this awkward car ride was not the dynamic change that I was hoping for.
In case anything jumps, I don't want to worry about clearing my weapon.
This is exactly how Marvin died in Pulp Fiction. R.I.P. Marvin.
Now it's about to get a lot longer.
I told the same lie to my college girlfriend.
That girl heard me saying exactly what I wanted her to hear me say.
Movie forcibly kept the audience in the dark about a bunch of plot details so it could manufacture suspense, which it now wants everyone to be impressed with.
Well, that's strange because that's the burner he took off you when we were fighting in the garage.
That's where I got it.
Which, by the way, is all the bullshit. They suspected he had a burner, but they didn't know it for sure, or know that he was definitely keeping it on his person, or know where on his person he might be keeping it. So yeah, the fact that JD swiped it so quickly and without Roe noticing that is all the bullshit.
Unless you're lying like me, the way I've been lying to you all night long, because then, truth be told, it is a fucking art form.
The script somehow writes itself, thinking very highly of itself, right into itself.
Don't feel bad, I've been bullshitting everybody all night. Even him.
And us. Every bit of tension in this movie up to this point was forced, and I, for one, do not appreciate it. Also, Hero wastes a bunch of time divulging his plan to the villains, yet none of the villains take the opportunity to just shoot him.
I got this from a burner the night she was killed.
How could Dane know this came from a burner phone, or that it's even legit? I get half a dozen spam texts from unknown numbers every day, and I have no reason to believe any of them come from burner phones.
Why don't you fucking tell me?
The only way to get everybody to believe I'd actually steal the money is if you believed.
Yeah, but it's a great way to get yourself shot by a cop who's known to be a hothead as well. Also, JD managed to act convinced even after you told him the truth, so this might actually have gone a lot easier if you had let him in on the plan from the get-go.
Where's Dale?
Daylight come and me won't go home cliche.
You also told me Dane was dirty and might be wanting to steal it.
Or I was acting like I did to see who'd actually show up and try to steal it.
Since the jig is up, the news is out, and he has finally found them, I see no further reason to delay this reveal. However, the movie feels otherwise.
Redial.
Because burner phones are famous for their sense of drama, it takes almost 15 seconds for this call to connect.
Don't do any dumb shit to Detective?
He was one of the 5 people wildly firing guns in a confined space inside an armored vehicle, so too late. Being only a few steps away from the scene of the crime with weapons in hand and feeling the need to reveal your faces as if a camera were there.
Yeah, that's us. Where are you?
We're right here.
This roadblock plan only worked because Maddie didn't lie to JD about where they were going with the money. Something Maddie would only do because plot. Stormtrooper aim.
Okay, no!
Stormtrooper aim 2, even less aiming. Wait a second, replay that. That was either a Wilhelm scream or a discount Wilhelm, and this movie has not earned enough points to deploy that kind of comedy. This FBI sniper adeptly shoots out the tire on the Tahoe, but doesn't even try to take out Mike when he opens fire on the other FBI agents. In a pinch, you'll find that bullets are the ultimate lockpicks cliche.
Hey, JD! JD! That's my f***ing car, man!
No, it's the taxpayer's f***ing car, and we're pissed that you left the keys in it. For something that reminded me so much of Heat, I feel very cold towards it. As Maddie jams on the brakes, this duffel bag shoots out the back of the Lenco as a personal insult to inertia. Somehow, JD does not become permanently deaf from firing a machine gun just inches from his face inside a car. Also, he thinks that securing a $20 million rip means he can then use $20 million worth of bullets. Also, I would say that JD shooting from this moving vehicle like he's playing Grand Theft Auto Vice City should be more than enough evidence to justify TNT being disbanded. Maddie survives this. Also, new Lenco is going to cost around $400 grand. And after giving Desi the $4 million reward, the net of this rip is already down to like $16.2 million.
Mike! Stop!
This works.
You think I'm a piece of shit?
I used to be a piece of shit. Spiked up blonde hair, little bitty jeans, chicken spaghetti at Ciccolini's.
Wake up one day.
It's supposed to be poetic justice because he uses Captain Velez's gun, but I feel nothing because their relationship wasn't explored at all, outside of a couple of random post-coital flashbacks. This was a brilliant idea to keep the money safe, but how exactly did they pull it off? Before they notice the garage is on fire, we see the money buckets sitting near the back of the station wagon, so they're not in the car yet. And by the time the armored car and SUV leave, the inside of the garage is clearly engulfed in flames. So apparently, we're supposed to believe that after the rest of the team left, Numa, Lolo, and Desi managed to somehow put out the fire, get the buckets loaded into the car, get the car turned around in the garage, and get it running and out of the garage before both the car and the money were destroyed. And I'm calling bullshit on that. This car works.
To the dollar. Well done, detectives. Well done.
They very well could have taken some of the money and still arrived at an amount they all agreed upon. This confirmation procedure is only really effective at finding inequalities if the team that counts the money is bad at its job. Also, the dollar amount being exact is pure luck for them, since they didn't even count the cash bundles that were packaged and labeled, remember?
If it's labeled $250, leave it. Just take their word for it.
So at a minimum, the cartel deserves a considerable amount of credit for their impeccable accounting.
You get 20% of that rip, it's $4 million.
Yeah, looks like it.
And the moral of the story is that letting drug dealers hide money in the walls of your house while dangerous can be very profitable.
You know I'd tell her everything, didn't you?
Yeah, I knew you'd do the right thing, even if it put you in danger.
Putting civilians in danger based on a hunch. Littering.
All right. They want TNT.
TNT team.
It's just TNT.
TNT works.
Somebody in TNT bust up VCAT.
VCAT?
All the VCAT guys.
And BCAT, TNT.
DA doesn't have together.
I'm DEA, Bert.
VCAT didn't.
DA doing.
TFOs.
IA's or UC's. TNT.
The VCAT guy.
The VCAT thing. Ex-VCAT.
DEA help.
It was IA.
DEA and they. It's VCAT.
DJ's
I want to rip it.
That's an easy rip.
How much is this rip supposed to be?
That's a $20 million rip. I don't trust this fucking rip. It's the fucking rip, no, Mike.
She was hip to a big rip.
You think I'm gonna jack this rip?
A rip.
The rip is the size of that rip.
Looks like the rip's about 150K.
They're gonna rip the stash.
Yeah, I told him about the rip.
Steal this fucking rip. I wanna steal this rip. Dane's doing the rip.
He knows about the rip, but not the total amount. The rip was only 150K.
Wait, I wanna rob the rip.
When you asked me about the rip.
How much is this rip supposed to be?
You've been trying to steal this rip all night.
I told you how much was in the rip.
It's one solid rip.
One solid rip.
You get 20% of that rip.
That's gas money, Ray.